reforms to the infected blood payment scheme have been announced today following a public consultation. Now, the payment schemes are for individuals who are infected with HIV and, or in some cases, hepatitis C, following treatment with the NHS, and when the NHS has supplied the blood or the blood products. Now, that's only gone back, or certainly only eligible, those payments, when those infections have taken place before September 1991. Under the scheme announced today, everyone in England infected with contaminated blood from the NHS will now receive an annual payment as well as winter fuel payments without the need to apply for that fuel benefit. Joseph Peaty is from Allesley in Coventry. He was affected with HIV and hepatitis A, B and C in the 80s and now co-chairs the Tainted Blood campaign. Joseph, evening to you.
Good evening.
What do you make of this outcome that you've had today?
I think, to be fair, it's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. We're still working our way through the details, and as they say, the devil's in the detail. It would appear that there is a little bit of good news in here for some people. There will be some small increases and potentially some larger increases coming into play from around about 2018-19. But I have to say, for a lot of people, they will look at this and they will think that the amounts that they've announced today are much too small. They're way below expectations. And in many cases as well, the government just haven't heard the calls for some people who are currently excluded from the scheme altogether,
right,
such as children that have been orphaned, and even for the widows. For them, it appears that the scheme is not going to meet their needs. And where we had hoped that this would be an outcome where we could kind of pack up and go home and get on with what's left of our very badly damaged lives, it does look as though there will be parts of our communities that still remain very aggrieved, and for them the campaign will have to go on. So
this announcement today for you, from what I'm getting from you, Joseph, it doesn't actually provide anything new, and if anything, any increases that you're going to get, actually, it sounds to me that you're not actually going to get much extra at all out of this.
I think, to be fair, the government's consultation proposals were absolutely dire. They're absolutely frightened people to death because they look like they were going to cut the support rather than increase or provide anything better. Within these proposals, there will, for some people, I think, be the prospect of improved support. But it's all going to hinge on what we call discretionary payments. So there's not a lot of detail in here in these proposals today about how those will work, and it really is sort of dependent on that. If there's the potential for these discretionary payments to support people in a more comprehensive way, then potentially we may see improvements, but nothing sort of very clear and reassuring, I have to say. I
mean, I'm looking, for example, at this. You mentioned the discretionary payments for things like counselling or mental help will be increased, say, the NHS, but there's no specific amount put towards that fund at the moment, so you can't even sort of put a number on that, can you?
No, I think there's a hint of an increase to the budget from 2018-19, but also we don't know by how much and what that will mean. And there's also a limit. They're only saying that this scheme is effective up to sort of 2021. Again, there's an element of reassurance they could have provided there if we knew that this was going to continue beyond. I mean, people will look at this and wonder, could it change again? Could it be reduced after that point?
And Joseph, just for people listening to this who won't be familiar with haemophilia and won't understand how, if you become infected with bad blood, effectively, and you live with, in your case, hepatitis A, B and C, and you've been infected with HIV, give me some idea how that limits your life.
Okay, for myself, I mean, I was hit, as you say, by a number of the viruses, and there are many other pathogens within the treatment that haemophiliacs received. For me, it made me very ill. It damaged my joints, eventually left me unable to work and reliant on home care on a daily basis. So for the last 20-odd years, I've lost all of those earnings, that career progression, and in the same period I've required specialist equipment, specialist transport, care support, lots of things that have created additional costs. So on the one hand, my income's gone down. On the other hand, my expenses have gone up in relation to the illness that was created by these viruses.
Mm. And you say there, and I say you're co-chair of the Tainted Blood campaign, that that this campaign will now go on. It
will have to go on, I think, to make sure that we get the discretionary elements right, to make sure that for some people with hepatitis C who potentially have lost their careers, the announcement today will see them receiving in the order of about £3,500 per year. I think it would be fair to say that some will feel that's something of a slap in the face. And the discretionary part of this, if there is a mechanism that they're going to introduce which will make allowances for the impact of these viruses on someone, as opposed to what was a very strict criteria before, which prevented them moving up to higher levels of payment. Perhaps there's an appeals mechanism now which will be a lighter touch and more inclusive, and it will allow people to receive better support. If that's the case, then this could be a positive move.
Joseph Peaty from Alsley and co-chair of the Tainted Blood campaign. Thank you.